Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to talk about a system I haven't talked a whole lot about on this channel, even though it's a great system that I really like a lot. The Atari 5200. This was the follow-up to the Atari 2600. It is an excellent console released in 1982, same year as ColecoVision. And I was a ColecoVision guy when the ColecoVision came out, but I did play the Atari 5200 at my friend's house quite a bit. And, just different friends had the 5200, and I liked it a lot. Just some excellent arcade ports. And I'm going to talk about, in particular, Robotron 2084. That is that awesome, legendary arcade game from 1982, co-created by Eugene Jarvis and Larry DeMar for VidKids, and released by Williams Electronics in the arcades in '82. Just a great game. I was 15 when this came out in the arcades, and you are a lone survivor, and you're just a lone hero, I should say. In 2084, it's a futuristic game, and you're surrounded by robots that are trying to kill you, and these strange-looking creatures, and there are, humans, innocent humans that you're trying to save, so you're running all over the screen, moving in all directions, shooting in all directions. It is a phenomenal game, and Atari did something really interesting with their 5200 port of the game. The game was not ported to the 2600 back in the day, but it was to the 5200. And really cool looking box right there, and you can see what the gameplay, what the screen looks like. Black backgrounds, pretty simplistic, but it is a great arcade port. It looks fantastic. And if you see this, that is a controller holder. Now see how thick that box is? Atari included packaged with their port of Robotron a controller holder, and that keeps both controllers together, and I'll show you what that looks like. That way you can move your man with one joystick and fire in all directions with the other. So you can run in all directions and fire in all directions at the same time. Just moving just really smoothly. It really recreates the arcade experience because Robotron is famous for that dual joystick control. And that's one of the many things that makes it a great game. Not only is it hectic and exciting, it has excellent dual joystick controls. And I think that's really neat that Atari went out of their way to create this dual joystick controller holder just for better gameplay. And you don't see that so much anymore. The modern joysticks are great. I mean, I love the DualShock on the PlayStation, and I like modern controllers. The various Xbox controllers and PlayStation controllers, the modern stuff. By and large, I like those. But back in the day, you had some interesting different joystick designs, and I thought it was great that Atari was willing to do this. And like I said, you don't see that much anymore. You don't see maybe specialized controllers for specific games or special controller functionality, just items like this that would, help you play a game that's specialized, that maybe requires a different control technique. Now this is really awesome. I love the dual joystick controller for this. And the 5200, Atari also included a controller holder with Space Dungeon. It's kind of similar to Robotron 2084. You're moving, in all these different rooms. This does has different rooms, whereas Robotron, it seems like you're just in the same room over and over. But this does have, different levels. But it is a great game. You're moving in all directions and you're shooting in all directions once again. Perfect for the thick box, and they included a controller holder, with both games. That's why I have two. But this is another phenomenal game that uses the controller holder, and I really appreciate that. That is awesome. Now, Atari also created a port of Robotron 2084 for the Atari 7800. Now, they got a little lazy here and used the same art, and they also got a little lazy. They did not make a dual joystick controller holder for the Atari 7800. Those Atari 7800 controllers, you can play it using, for the 7800, you can play it using one joystick. But if memory serves, you can also use it playing two joysticks, and people would rubber band their joysticks together. I believe the manual might even mention that you can use rubber bands to hold your Atari 7800 joysticks together so you can have that dual joystick control, which is, pretty, not the best, but this does have a little bit better graphics and sounds than the 5200, because a lot of, the 5200 upgraded a lot of the Atari 2600 ports from the arcade. You know, the 5200 ones look better, and the 7800 ones typically look even better than that. But they failed by not including a controller holder with this, or a really good way to do dual joystick action on the 7800 version. But anyway, I really like the way the Atari did this, and I was mentioning that I got my 5200. I didn't have one back in the day. You know, I was a ColecoVision guy, but I did get a 5200 in the early 90s. My friend Russ, this would have been about 91 or 92. A good friend of mine, Russ, he shopped at my comic book store back in the day. He would come in a lot. He was also, I met him through a mutual friend outside of the store. But when I had the comic book store, when I started that in the early 90s with my brother-in-law, Russ would come in the store a lot. He was a really cool guy, and he was a gamer, and he had an Atari 5200 with about 12 games, and he kept the boxes for all these games, and he had the Wico joystick, and so which is pretty rare. He had the Atari 5200 trackball, which is awesome. Even better, he decided he no longer needed his 5200. You know, he's playing some more modern games and just wasn't into gaming, retro gaming like I was, and so he gave me every bit of his Atari 5200 stuff, and which was really awesome. So beginning in the early 90s, I began collecting for the 5200. Now, I'd played it before, like I said. As a matter of fact, the first time I recall playing the 5200 was on a church mission trip. This was probably 82 or 83. Must have been, it was probably 82, not long after the system came out. And I remember the bedroom, you know, you do these church mission trips, these outreach programs, you go to different cities. And in this bedroom where I was staying, they had an Atari 5200 and several games. And I distinctly remember playing Pac-Man and several other games on that. And I thought that was great because, you know, it was definitely a step above the 2600 in terms of graphics. And I didn't discover Robotron until later on. And it's so awesome that Russ had these two great games, Robotron 2084 and Space Dungeon, that both come with these awesome controller holders. Just a really cool, retro gaming is so interesting. There's all these little quirks, just so much interesting history. And to me, the dual controller holder, which is awesome, is just one of these interesting little aspects of history. Very cool. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. Should have another episode of Tales from a Retro Gamer next week. You know, I like to do these just throughout the week, just interesting topics or just some gameplay or just, you know, show you some stuff in my collection. But once a week, I like to do a full-on Tales from a Retro Gamer episode, you know, with the intro and the post-production, the screenshots and all that. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I will talk to you later.